Welcome to Modern Home Masterminds with beSpoke Brokers. I'm Shauna Glazier, designated broker and owner.
And I'm Brittany Williamson, associate broker at beSpoke Real Estate. Shauna and I are beSpoke Real Estate, and we're also your guides to modern luxury across the entire state of Arizona.
Each week, we speak with masterminds shaping the modern spaces. Do you want to get a behind-the-scenes look at your design build team's processes? Open communication and teamwork will lead you to a successful project.
From architects to builders, designers, and more, let's explore the art of modern living together.
All right. Welcome back, listeners. Have you ever wondered exactly what makes your home valuable? Well, today's guest, Robert Oglesby, can give us the inside scoop.
That's right. Robert is the owner of Appraisal One and has been providing first-in-class appraisal services in Arizona and across the country for more than 25 years. In addition to providing personalized appraisal services, Robert is highly sought after for training, lectures, and litigation support.
All right. Welcome.
Incredible intro. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm excited. So, Robert, we met actually a couple months ago. You were on a panel. It was a design build panel as a seminar that I was listening to. And I'm like, there's these amazing design build firms. And then we have this one appraiser. Like, what is he going to say? And then what I learned from you, it was really interesting, and I learned a lot. And, you know, Brittany and I, our firm specializes in architecturally significant properties. That's what we love to do. We've set many price per foot records throughout the Valley, which we're fortunate enough to be able to represent these architecturally significant properties. But we get stuck with, as amazing as it is, we are also constantly fighting with appraisers, or what is the value? How do you determine the value? Right. Based on all kinds of different factors. So we're excited to have you here. Let's see. First question. All right. As realtors, we are taught location, location, location. What other aspects of a home make it more valuable, particularly in the luxury market?
Well, it's a great question. I don't think we'll ever get away from location. I think that theory will hold true. When you study buying patterns in the custom home world, there are variables that generally stand out here in the Valley, depending on what location you're in, but you never want to circle away from dirt, meaning that generally an appraiser is going to focus on location tremendously. And depending on the complexities of the home itself, there are times that we can go outside the location, but we've got to account for that. We can't let that escape what we're focusing on. So it's very common for, if you want to say entry-level valuers in the industry that might make some mistakes of focusing too much on the improvements first and not paying attention to the location where some things could change in value. But, primary variables could be quality of construction, could be the condition of the home, could be certain elements of the finishes, design, utility, and it could keep going further from there. And obviously, exterior hardscaping and landscaping could tie into that. But generally, you find when you're sitting in this custom home element, you're focusing on location, quality of construction, obviously livable utility will come into play. The design element is going to be a big factor, especially if you're in a market where architectural styles can vary greatly. And we've seen over the past 5 to 15 years, I'm just using a rough range, where these architectural styles have really changed to where what we've been used to for the prior 20, 30 years. So I don't know if it gives you enough ammo, but that's what an appraiser is going to have to study in that market. And one thing ties to that that's really, I've always found to be very impactful, at least in my own practice, and I think other quality appraisers will back it up, is really understanding replacement cost. Right. It doesn't always equal market, but it's important to understand that in that market. What does it cost to do something in that market? What does it cost to get that site ready for that luxury home to get on it? And what does it cost to replicate that home?
Yeah, and I think
it's really important.
You just said luxury. I'm assuming that approach is more luxury custom, right? And less if you're in a cookie cutter subdivision.
Yeah, and I think, cost helps an appraiser tremendously. The better we are at understanding true replacement costs in any single family appraisal, it ties into things. I mean, the buying patterns, I think, are starting to change as our economies change and how rates have gone up, the buying power has changed, our supply is starting to transition. People understand, hey, if I want to pull a pool in the backyard, use something basic, it's not $30,000 anymore for the most part, right? It's at least $50,000 or at least $40,000 for an entry-level pool. And so when people start to understand costs more, which I think they are because everything's so transparent now. It's you see videos, you see whatever it is. Oh, it's going to cost me this to do this. They start thinking about that. And we've seen changes in the market where values on certain elements have gone up, if you will, because our pricing has gone up. And we've seen where homes are more marketable based on certain elements, even in the entry-level space. So
I think it's interesting that you mentioned design being a factor because we have seen a shift to more modern design recently.
we have
Yeah.
seen a lot more of them built.
It's good for us.
It is great for us,
Job security.
right?
Why do you think that is? What do you think it is? Is it just different and people are now motivated to change?
I think it's just more like timeless.
Yeah. It's a very clean aesthetic.
And it's also changing. I mean, as far as design, these big open homes with really high ceilings, open kitchen, living, dining, we're also starting to see that kind of come in a little bit more. People wanting more defined spaces, maybe lowering the ceiling or like having like a planked ceiling, like, still high ceiling, but just different depth levels to make it smaller, more cozy. I feel like it got a little too big for a while.
Wow.
Yes.
So it's starting to transition to the whole design aspect of that. Wow, that's interesting. And look, that's part of being a good appraiser too, is, hey, if you can get on a podcast with experts like yourselves, you learn. Like, you're the one driving buyers around and taking listings. We are just trying to report what the habits are of these buyers and listings. So what happens in the market.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know that you used to own a very large appraisal company, but now you're just kind of back to a smaller boutique sort of thing. What was your reasoning behind that?
Well, Appraisal Tech, we started here in Arizona. I had a phenomenal team that was with me for a very long time. We grew it to our highest point. We had over 100 employees, and we were licensed in, I think, 48 states. And we sold to a larger firm. And the reason for that is we primarily service mortgage bankers. And tremendous amount of fun, tremendous amount of respect for my team that was with me that whole time. And I miss it every day I think about it, right? But we saw the change starting to happen. Number one is the mortgage banking space was starting to be dominated by broker space, if you will. Two, there's a change in appetite related to traditional appraisals. So there's a massive push to modernize the appraisal industry. And if you just Googled that or went into some AI technology and started to ask questions about that, you're going to get tons of information. So the appraisal landscape is being pushed to modernize to better benefit its users, which primarily is lenders when you're talking residential space.
Is that going to be more like desktop appraisals?
Yeah, kind of. There's we've got hybrid, we've got desktop. We still have traditional appraisals, which will be primarily in the space that you guys are in for custom housing. The goal, I think, from a lot of the higher users of appraisal services is to give options, to not have so much pressure on that standard appraiser coming out and handling it from A to Z, which takes time, as you guys have experienced in your own world. So left, we sold to another firm, and that was primarily the reason, was really just I felt that with the buying power changing and interest rates doubling, the origination volume went down by over 60%, as you guys are probably aware. And I knew that we were going to have to either reduce down in size, just like any other business would, or look for a buyer that would give our team the best opportunity to extend their careers. And that's what we did. And most of them are still employed, thank goodness, by the other company. Yeah.
Good for you.
So single shop now, and I primarily focus on higher end housing, and I generally service realtors and attorneys. And I've kind of just sat back, and I'm trying to spend more time educating myself on changes in the industry. So
that's excellent. And it's great talking. I mean, you're well versed in what's going on already. So do you like the change? Do you like the smaller?
No, once you have that, it's hard to let it go.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, it'd be great. Yeah, everything's peachy. No, I miss that. It was so much fun. My wife is happy that I'm not as busy now, but yeah. No, I miss it. There are days I miss it, and then the stress of changing with the origination volume and how the market changes. Of course, you like to get rid of that and just think about the positive times. But I miss my team. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But being by my own is good. It's good as well.
It's more flexible, right?
Yeah.
All right, back to appraisals. We often help people buy and sell very unique properties, as you know, custom homes. Can you talk about the challenges that these types of homes present to an appraiser?
Yeah, they could be very difficult. And, when the appraiser is taking in an assignment, the first thing they're looking at is what's the scope, and generally in the real estate world, we're often dealing with lending, right? That's generally the primary user of appraisal services. So when we're thinking about a lender, their appetite is they want a quality written report that backs up a credible opinion of market value. They want a detailed market analysis on, hey, if we take this on our books and some reason we need to take it back, how long are we sitting with it based on that date? So the appraiser's got to identify, there's a process that they do from minimum standards standpoint that they're going to identify the problem. So the first thing is we want to think about, hey, where is this located? What am I doing here? What's my definition of market value? And often with luxury housing, the complexities are truly making sure that you're setting the right tone of identifying what that house has done in the market, either historically and how does it feel today. When you think about markets that we have, like Paradise Valley as an example, well, the neighborhood, if you will, of Paradise Valley offers all of these different styles of housing. There's different markets within it, multiple. I mean, we're not talking just, there's one upper end housing market, then a lower end. You could have a 12,000 square foot home next to another home that needs to be ripped down or barely has any life left. Mm-hmm. So that's the complexities, or generally understanding what the influence is, and generally thinking about what you just talked about is the change in style. What are most buyers wanting? And you generally see different patterns with how you're reporting that appraisal based on what our subject property is. So I think the number one piece that you'll find is really truly identifying the property, spending the time with the builder or the agent that has history with the property, making sure that you can completely identify the home properly. When we can do that, we have a lot more success and do an incredible report.
So you're never annoyed that the agent is present and teaching you about the property?
No, I think the appraisers are being constricted right now to maximally produce a quality report, super efficient amount of time. Mm-hmm. But then you have the biggest user of services, if you will, which is the lending space, but they're selling a lot of loans to the GSEs. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mae, things like that. They are seeing all of this come out that, hey, we want more detailed analysis from you. So on one hand, the lender is saying, hey, they're trying to impress you. We're going to get this appraisal back. We're going to try to close this loan in 2 weeks, whatever it is. And they're telling the appraiser, hey, you need to get this back 3 to 5 days. We want it back. That is a primary factor that they're basing the appraiser's quality score on, is how fast they can deliver a report. So the industry has really changed, like everything else in our lives. We want things instantly. That's just who we are and how technology has advanced. Everybody wants answers right now. So I encourage that, for you and other practicing agents, if you're dealing with complex properties, realize you want the appraiser to feel like they have some time to do this. Mm-hmm. They can truly think about all of the challenges with reporting this report and spend some time with the agent. Mm-hmm. So you get that feeling when an appraiser comes out that, hey, they're being rushed because, A, they've got another assignment to go to, and B, I got to have this back by Thursday. Okay, it's Tuesday. Mm-hmm. All right. Love spending time with you, Shauna, but I've got to get this done so I can get back to my desk and get this thing knocked out.
Yeah, so I guess it sounds like as long as we're giving you valuable information, I mean, we normally put together a whole comp packet, and depending on who the design build team is, we will give as much information regarding that to the appraiser. You touched on submarkets, and it is interesting. People think Paradise Valley is all the same. It's not. And there's really 7 submarkets inside Paradise Valley, and I can rank them from, Billionaires Row, which is the top, and then over by, the Paradise Valley Country Club. But in what side of Tatum is more valuable? Which side of McDonald is more valuable? I mean, hillside versus not hillside. There's 5-acre lots. It's R43, so everything is 1 acre minimum. But even within our little Paradise Valley community, it's totally different. And I had an investor who purchased, he wasn't my client, but he wanted me to help him understand value if he was going to do a spec house. And he was on the wrong side of Tatum, backed Tatum, and he was using actually our Desert Park listing that sold for $12 million. That was an interior lot on the right side of Tatum, and he wanted to comp at that same price, but he's not familiar at all with Paradise Valley or Arizona. And I was like, listen, it's different. And if you're purchasing in Paradise Valley, you know the difference of the different areas and not wanting to back a major street. So I'm glad that you touched on that.
It's common even in markets that are less complex, where the person sees a sale down the street and they attach to that. They emotionally attach that's my value, or take the price per square foot of that. When maybe that property had $200,000 in the backyard, and let's just say we're a $500,000 property, whatever it is, and the kitchen was updated, the primary bathrooms have been updated, and this one's still tired, right? It's still original or whatever it is, and it's a separate market. It's that happens quite frequently. So the appraiser is tasked with trying to explain that potentially to their client, or an agent is talking to them, and they've got to be able to express themselves. Hey, they're working for their client. We're going to look at all the data you provide us, and keep a smile on the face. So people handle that differently, how they communicate.
We just did a listing appointment. It's a very unique property. Other agents are coming in telling this homeowner, this is what your property should sell for, based pretty much solely on price per square foot, is what it kind of came out to us after we really looked at all the data.
Yeah, we didn't want to give a price. We went to the property to understand it. It's very unique. It was one home that the owner turned into two separate homes to have a mother-in-law move in. And so on one side, it's truly just a one bedroom, a full kitchen, a bathroom. The other side is only 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, and it's in a very nice area. So it's essentially a 3-bedroom. And if you look at 3-bedroom comps, we're millions off of where she wants to be.
Yeah.
Wow.
But so we're anyway, it is true. I go back to like when people are making these giant changes, like just ask a realtor, like just ask us what the use of the property in the future.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question, because I was going to ask, we do have people all the time asking us about what improvements, if they're just going to remodel, because there are a lot of people remodeling right now because they have these great rates, right? What improvements are going to make the biggest difference? Give me the biggest bang for my buck sort of thing.
Right. Well, you've got to define the market first. So what is the market generally portraying from buying patterns? And an appraiser, a good appraiser is focusing on factual information. So if I'm coming to you and you hire me, I shouldn't be giving you my personal opinions on things. I should be backing it up. Hey, look, here's what's happened, Shauna. Here's how the buying patterns have happened. And as you can see, these properties that have a remodeled kitchen are standing out. They're selling for a higher price per square foot. So we can use price per square foot to back up certain segments or trends on a particular properties on hillside portion of Mummy Mountain, facing Camel, whatever it is. They have a pattern of selling at XYZ price per square foot versus the other side, whatever it may be. So first thing is defining the market, what people are making decisions on. So it could be all over the board. You could see patterns right now where guest houses are becoming extremely popular. Now, the challenge is they're not very feasible to put in, right? I mean, we're starting to see some changes in zoning and things like that. So guest houses may have a momentum going forward where people are making stronger decisions to that versus historical trends in certain markets. But we generally see, if you wanted to take a blanket statement, kitchens, primary bedroom, bathrooms, overall finishes for supporting current trends where people want to see the current colors, the current materials that really are popular. That's where you're seeing the bang for the buck out of value, is getting rid of some of those tire pieces. In the last studying I was doing, a group of mine that I'm involved in, we flipped a property in Gilbert on acreage. And we were worried because there's some competition, but we completely redid the entire home on the inside. We got lists or hits right away. People were coming to see the property, and the buyer contracted within 30 days where other stuff was sitting for 69. And they said, they looked at everything else. They didn't want to have to deal with updating something. So they were very happy that they moved in to a property that was completely done. And you're seeing that across the valley, like what you were saying, that you're starting to see remodeling. So I think every market's different. You got to define what's happening, and you got to take the data from that market. But you're seeing a lot of the tired homes kind of struggle. You know, investors are trying to pencil things out. Hey, can we make a return on it? Is a buyer going to come in? If it's a super great location, they might take it. But you are seeing that those days on market for tired homes sit a little longer.
What about when you're appraising a property, if the home has been on the market for 5 days versus 300 days? Do you take that into account? And also, if the house, say, has multiple offers, would you take that into account for value?
Yeah, it doesn't translate to a number, but it translates to activity and questions. Okay, if most of the market of this property, so when we talk about market, we're talking about what competes with this property in that geographic location. So as you mentioned, there's at least 7 markets in Paradise Valley. Okay, if I'm in one of those markets, okay, if the normal marketing pattern is showing, let's just say 90 days on the market, and this one sells in 5 or 10, the question is why? Give me some facts. Why is this one better, or is it price low? Why is this one supporting a much lower days on market versus the other ones that are on the market 90 days? So the appraiser wants to discover that, and maybe they're going to learn that, hey, this one has this great view that's very hard to replicate. Nobody can build behind them. Or this one had a very modern kitchen, or something was updated about this property that made it stand out from its competition. So the appraiser's going to investigate. So ideally, it doesn't go to a number, but maybe it does. Maybe it does because there's something about that property that's gaining momentum from the market versus competition.
Yeah. What about, going off script here, since we love working with certain architects and builders, how much weight does that play into it? I know that's really determines, it could be nothing, because if the developer or the owner doesn't let that design build team put in good finishes or finish it the way that they want, maybe the value isn't there. But how much weight do you put on, if you will, a name brand team that's designed the property?
I've never seen an appraisal across the country. So from my days of sitting at a desk at Appraisal Tech and seeing reports coming across the country, I've never seen a line item, if you will, for a builder name. Okay, I've never seen that.
It should be there.
Okay.
It should be there.
Okay.
Shouldn't?
Yeah.
Well, what does that really translate to? So let's make it easy for most of your listeners. Let's just say production homes. Toll Brothers stands out in production homes, right, as building a higher quality production home. And generally, if you go in most of their markets that they sell in, they probably sell for a little higher price per square foot compared to, I don't know, D.R. Horton or Lennar or something like that. Why is that? Maybe they're building a higher quality product. Maybe their elevations cost more to do. Maybe certain elements that they do in the home relate to a higher quality construction. So to fully answer your question, if the builder or architect or the design group, if you're all in one, you're building a higher quality home, the appraiser will likely, if they're working in the market that this company is affiliated with commonly, they'll recognize, hey, this company generally builds a higher quality product than maybe the competition. So they can relate it to quality, provide they can back it up factually with materials, what design components really allow it to be superior. So there's documentation that they can have. And if there's factual sales in the market, if you will, that show that, hey, they stand out, then that can be documented in the appraisal.
Yeah, I mean, it is very relevant in our industry. Just if a home was designed by Candelaria or Phoenix Architecture or Construction Zone, even if it was 20 years ago, like their name is still used, and we will sell it for a higher price if we can attach an architect to that particular property. And also what we find is a lot of people that used to work for these bigger firms have branched off. They start their own firm. And so you'll see like, designed by so-and-so formerly with
Also,
Mark
they're
Candelaria.
using the name.
And you were trained under these higher architects. So there, in our opinion, there is value there. So
Got it.
there needs to be a line for builder.
Yeah. Well, and there's such a big Frank Lloyd Wright, thing going on here with there's so many of his proteges that there's these lines of succession, and people tend to put value on that.
Yeah, they really do.
The following.
Well, I think important for you is appraisers are only as good with the data they have. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, while you might think it's really not my job, the appraiser should be able to understand how to read things. It's very hard to go. You go into MLS, it's hard to pull down architect names and build a pattern on that to show that they sell for $50 to $100 more per square foot, whatever it is. So it's really important for the listing agent who should be educated on that in that market to provide data to the appraiser too, and help them build that story that allows them to extract good data out of the market.
And we feel like we specialize in that space to give a good client service to our clients. All right, last question. What do you think our listeners need to know about appraisals? For instance, are there any common misconceptions, especially in the luxury space?
Yeah, I think that the most common misconception is something that we've talked about is there are a lot of times what happens is if there is a challenge with an appraisal, they're relating it to something that they know is sold. And I'll give you an example. What I studied in Paradise Valley recently, and some of it might transition, but new construction was really selling at a very high price point. And and that's not the only thing that was affecting price, of course, but they were standing out. So a lot of times we go and appraise a home that's 15 years old. They're seeing the new construction that just sold 2 doors down and thinking, oh, here's my value, not realizing that this has all the bells and whistles that buyers want today, and it costs substantially more to replace that property. And in fact, it's new, and there is a premium for that. So I think commonly realize that the appraiser's got to identify what they're appraising first. That's an important aspect. What am I appraising? What of the Paradise Valley market, as an example, which level am I appraising there? Which part of that market am I appraising? And so depending on price per square foot or using that sale down the street as a relationship to value may or may not be a good approach. And you may find yourself with an opinion of market value that's comparatively different because you're not thinking about the market of that home versus just looking at sales around it. So the other piece is where a lot of failures happen is visual details about the home. A lot of times people want to be private with providing detailed plans and specs because this is something they spent a lot of money to build. They don't want that being passed around. I respect that, but you're also asking a professional to provide a high quality report, and they need those facts. Things that you talked about, like who the architect was, why is this a higher quality home than maybe a comp down the street that maybe it's the same size, maybe it's in the same location, but it's sold lower.
Framing versus cast in place concrete walls, right?
100%.
Yeah.
This is going to last the remaining life of this home. The full effective age of this home or full remaining life of this home is 100 years versus maybe some of the other builders is 75. Mm-hmm. So there could be respect to that related that could be a factor in the appraisal. Yeah.
This is so great. And I think it's so good for our listeners to understand what we're doing real estate wise and appraisal wise behind the scenes. It isn't like cookie cutter. This is what your house is worth. There's a lot of work and research that goes into it.
A lot of work.
So we like to do a little rapid fire, a couple of quick questions that you didn't get to prepare for. One is, who's your favorite realtor? No, I'm kidding. So they're meant to be just quick, like one word, one sentence, whatever comes to mind. You ready?
Yep. I'm glad that wasn't a real question. Thank you.
I'm not going to
lose a lot of my clients right there.
Right? Okay. What has been your favorite property to appraise?
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you, I know which one it is, believe it or not. And sometimes we get lost. I appraised, I want to say this was a French-style home. It's in true proper Arcadia. This was years ago. Proper Arcadia. The guy had materials flown in from France to build this home. And I believe it was on Exeter. It's been a decade since I've seen the home. And I was there 2 hours, and a lot of it was just because I was just so relaxed. Like, they had a full lagoon in the back. Nice. And I was really nervous because a lot of times when you go to that level of work, like you guys do, and if I underappraise, I'm really like, it's like, who is this guy? Like, underappraising my house. And here I had stuff flown in from France. What is the value for putting stuff on a boat and getting it here? Right. And, it's really hard to replicate. And the architecture of that home and just the setting of all the grounds really supported the design. Mm-hmm. And I think we often forget about that, like related to valuation. Curb appeal is so important. And it's much more than just saying, oh, it looks good from the street. The design elements of the landscaping, the hardscaping, all supported the design, meaning he or she didn't use a Bellegarde paver for this French home. There was true stone that supported the design of this home. And I think back then, I'm just going to guess, okay, I don't know what it's worth, but I'm going to say this is probably a $10 million home right now at least. I think I appraised it for like 3 back then, and they weren't happy. Okay, this is a long time ago. Okay, so I spent a lot of extra time on that property too, trying to really support it. Just a gorgeous piece of
I'm
architecture.
going to have to look this up when I get home. I want
Right?
to see it now.
I probably could find
wanna
it.
see
I know I could find it. But it was just gorgeous, all aspects of
it.
that.
Well, if you weren't an appraiser, what would you be doing?
Well, that is a loaded question. I probably be. I love the military, and I love everything about this country, and I miss aspects of being involved in that. So I like a lot of government stuff. So I spend a lot of my time reading things that go on, and more than politics. I'm talking like everything that our government has to do to keep us safe, I just think is incredible. And I don't think we respect that enough sometimes. It's just what it is. It's how I feel. But I love all that.
I love that. It's something
Yeah.
you would never guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
All right. What's your favorite neighborhood in the Valley? I feel like I could guess it.
That is tricky because, you go to a neighborhood. Oh, I love it. I would love to live here. Then you go to another one and you live here.
Yeah.
So I love everything about Paradise Valley, and so you're saying neighborhood, so you didn't say market. So I'm going to say Paradise Valley, and the reason is I love what I love about the development of Scottsdale, if you will, is we're not just allowing franchises to come in and just dominate. So I hope that it's like coming in this building. I didn't feel like I was in normal Arizona when I walked in this building. It was just kind of cool to see something different. So I like that aspect, and I think other parts of the Valley are trying to do that. And I'll give you a snowball one like that I think was really respected when it came was Verrado.
So far, though.
Yeah, it's super far.
It's beautiful.
But it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. It's not the same. So I think the developer of that, and they did Eastmark and a couple of others here in the Valley. And then another wild stretch would be like Superstition Mountain. There's some aspects of that where you feel like you can get away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're still here.
Yep.
And I think just so our listeners know who aren't familiar with Paradise Valley, there's no commercial, right?
Right.
There's no gas stations, there's no grocery stores. We're small. You're 4 miles away from it. But in your little town of Paradise Valley, we survive off. We have a lot of resorts, so the resort taxes. But so just not commercial, not the traffic that you would see other places. But
I had to
Watch
go to
out for the speed cameras, though.
Yes. Seriously.
if you have a bike rack that blocks it,
Yeah, I had to go
Just
to
push that
Camelback
button to
Inn
drop
yesterday.
down the plate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to go to Camelback Inn yesterday to go to Starbucks because I was in Paradise Valley, didn't have much time. I'm like, I'd love to have coffee.
yeah.
Oh darn, have to go to Camelback Inn, which is gorgeous.
yeah.
So I did that. What's your biggest pet peeve when it comes to your job?
Most appraiser, I think the industry is under immense pressure right now, and the normal appraiser that is a one-man store, the profession is not giving the appraiser the full power to allow it to grow. And what I mean by that is, I'm trying to say this with respect because I'll give you the stats. So probably, and I can give you some sources. I can send it to you later, but I'm just going to go off the hip. I don't read this every day, but I think 60% of us are 60 and over. And let me make sure I'm rephrasing that. I'm not 60 and over just yet. I may feel like it some days, but I'm not. But a large portion of certified licensed appraisers are 60 and over. Most of us are white, which is a challenge. We've not done a great job of bringing new people in. And part of that was the structure to get people in and things like that. But I think what happened over the past few years, that became the priority versus really raising the profession, allowing appraisers to have increased compensation and hold them accountable to quality, and allow them to be a little bit more free, but also keeping them free of pressure. I think there's better ways that we could be handling that. And there's crazy amounts of opinion. There are people that spend every day dealing with this, and I'm not that person right now. I'm trying to stay in my lane and just be focused on doing a good job. But I think the industry, we're really small. There's only 70 to 80,000 of us, and only about 30,000 of us roughly submit reports in the lending space. So you're talking about a very boutique industry, and we don't have a lot of that power. And I'll just give you an example. We just had our hours increase for continuing ed. Okay, and we take roughly 28 hours plus every 2 years. There's some minimum standards, but now we have to take a lot of stuff on fair housing, which, hey, we all need to get a check in the head, right, to make sure we're staying focused on doing a good job. But is that the right requirement? Should we be more focused on, hey, Robert, you got to change your game in reading data and making sure that you're analyzing data correctly, and here's what we're going to expect you to provide. So I think the industry's missed some things that could allow us to grow at a faster rate and really allow the individual appraiser to stand out. So, but it'll turn. I mean, they want us here. I know they do, but it's been a weird few years. It really has.
Did he just say the pet peeve was continuing education?
It's how the continuing education is. You can fly through it.
We're the same. We're every 2 years. We're both brokers. So is it 36 hours that we need? And some of the stuff, it's broken into, it used to be 3-hour classes. Now you can take 1 hour. But like, I love the legal. I love the contract. But things like maybe fair housing, for instance, it hasn't changed. Like they teach us the same thing over. So if they were teaching us something new, because we have to do it over and over again. Like agency really hasn't changed. I guess we had a little changes this year. I shouldn't say that, but no, I wish there was, what they teach us is not relevant necessarily to what we're doing and what we're doing with our clients. So
making us better, right? I mean, continuing ed should be about making you better and we're holding you accountable to being better. Mm-hmm. It's really what it should be about.
Yeah. All right. So what is your favorite thing to do on your day off?
I'm a very simple guy, so I don't want to make it sound crazy or anything, but I like to work out. I like to be outdoors, and I like my time. That's one thing that I've learned coming out of the crazy business world is how valuable your time is, because I'm seeing too many people around me either have a health issue or just gone, and you're like, whew. So work out. I got 2 white retrievers and a wife of almost 28 years. She just had her 50th birthday yesterday, so we were celebrating that. And
nice.
I told her we could go get her senior coffee discount at McDonald's. She was not happy about that, but
I love it.
So we hang out, we travel. My son's in Michigan, so it's not uncommon for me just to get on the road and hit unique places on the road and just go see him in Michigan. So it's just, it's what it is. Nothing crazy.
It's wonderful.
Nice.
I like it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was really insightful. I'm sure our listeners learned a lot. We are going to post all of your contact information in our show notes.
Cool.
But if you want to, tell our listeners where they can find you.
Appraisal1.com. And you can reach out to me anytime. I take calls and I enjoy those conversations. I will help anybody that I can just over the phone. If I can give some guidance, it's complimentary anytime. But before you end me, I always feel like a podcast, so you have to give out a gift, okay? It's very important.
Okay.
So what's today? What's today? Anybody know what today is?
Today is Wednesday.
You know how we always have these weird days now?
yeah.
Like it's National Pizza Day or something. Today's National Bagel Day.
Bagel Day.
So I'm sending you bagels. I just don't know where to send them to. Yeah. I'm sending you bagels. But I got you gift cards at Starbucks. Yeah.
Wow, you are so generous.
Yes, but Starbucks is great, but I like to support more local things. So you're getting bagels. We'll figure out where to send them.
Thank you so much.
National Bagel Day.
Really, I really appreciate that. All right, that's it for today's Modern Home Mastermind. If you've enjoyed the show, please like, rate, and subscribe.
Yes, thanks to our guest, and thanks to you, our listeners, for learning about everything modern with us.
And if you're ready to take the next step in your real estate journey, please reach out to us at beSpoke Real Estate. And until next time, keep living, loving everything modern.